It's Edge Radio Australia. It's 1 o'clock. It's Tuesday. So what does that mean? I think I've got a bit of an idea. I think it could be the Crypto Hour of Power, and we'd like to charge you in. That's a powerful start there, Brandon. How are you feeling, mate?
I'm full disclosure. I'm wearing a bit of a hangover this morning.
Oh, you're wearing it beautifully, mate, and very publicly. I like that. I love that.
Yeah, but
you're doing well.
Soldiers must soldier on. So
mate.
I'm here. I'm here in spirit,
mate. You're no quitter. I love it. I do.
Right. No, we had a get together on a barbecue yesterday, so we started around lunchtime. So,
right.
Yeah, it was like a day drinking thing. Yes, but that's life. That's life.
But you're a trooper. You're here today, and you've even brought a guest in the studio. Nice.
Yes, in person. Today's going to be a bit of a different episode.
Okay.
I'm going to sort of introduce you, Josh. How I met you. I met him at my daughter. We had it was a birthday party, and
right.
she went to, and that sort of stuff. And I was wearing a Hex shirt.
Yep.
And this strapping young man across from me at the moment, he comes up to me and he goes, "Oh, you into Hex, are you, mate?" I'm like, yeah, that's right. So we started talking about crypto, and then the guys, as guys do, we went over and we, manned the barbecue.
As you do.
While the women
important.
and the children were playing, basically. So, yeah, we got to talking, and it ends up that he's a preacher.
Nice.
Which was, so I've, and he's just, fully red-pilled, top bloke, very intelligent, very switched on. And I've been going to his church. I haven't been to church in probably, 25, 30 years.
Right. Okay.
So,
bit of a holiday. Okay. Yeah.
It's a bit of a break. And I just go for what Josh has to say and how he relates it to, like life and that sort of stuff. And he's just, everything he says is just right on point. So, yeah, I basically go for him. I should be going for Jesus and God, but but yeah, he's just a wealth of information and that sort of stuff. So welcome, Josh.
Thanks, mate. Good to be here.
And just give you a little bit of intro about yourself and where you're from and that sort of thing, mate.
Yeah, okay. So I'm a father of three girls, 3 daughters. Love being a dad, one of the best gifts in the world. I've got an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and the youngest is about 27. I think she acts like she's 27. No, she's 7 years old. She likes to run the show. All of them do a little bit. So I've been a church pastor now for, just over 20 years. I've been the senior pastor for about 13 years of the church that I'm in at the moment. Love my job. We've got a couple of congregations here in Perth, and we've got a couple overseas in Livingston and Zambia, about to launch a third one later on in the year. We're a community-minded church. We believe that loving God shows itself by loving people. We're very much into getting to serve the people around about us in practical ways and to demonstrate the love of God in real ways that meet people's needs. That's basically it.
Yeah, cool. Cool. We're going to sort of touch into a few different subjects and then go into crypto and that sort of thing, because it is a crypto show.
Yep.
But it's good to know where people come from, right? And it's sort of the colour of their money, if you like, the integrity. So great start, mate. Yeah, it's good to know where you come from.
And integrity. That's where good segue, mate. It was accidental, but a good segue. This is why you're on the big bucks. All right. The nonsense that's happened over the last 2 or 3 years, we'll probably start there, and your response to it as a church and as a leader and that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Was it difficult during the lockdowns for the church?
Yeah, I think it was very challenging for people all across the world. One of the benefits for our church community is that we preach the Bible, as churches do, and in the Bible it says that troubles will come in the world, but keep your eyes on Christ. And so you've introduced me as a preacher, so you're going to get to hear it from a preacher's perspective, right? And so the last 10 years in particular, we've been talking openly about being aware of what's going on. So I think the last 2 to 3 years really is just what we're seeing. It's the tip of the iceberg. As you guys are aware, there's been stuff that's been in play for quite a while now.
Yeah,
that's
decades.
right.
But it's really just come to a head, and people are just starting to wake up now because it's become so in your face. Yeah. So when we address it to the church, we've talked about it, but even at the start, we've said, listen, don't take the pill of fear porn, that's being thrusted on you from the media, wherever you look. Be afraid of this, be afraid of that, because when you're living in fear, you don't make the best of decisions.
So true.
So we continually just said, look, let's keep our eyes on the main thing, on the prize, and let's not be too distracted without avoiding the realities of the world that we're living in.
Yeah, no, that much. But how did you go about staying in front of your congregation and that sort of stuff with the vaccine mandates and masks and that sort of stuff? Did you find that period a bit difficult?
Great question. Yeah, it was difficult for a number of pastors in particular across the place, not just in the city but nationally. And the thing about pastors is, the main reason why we're pastors is because we want to love God and love people. We want to preach Christ from the Bible and not get too distracted, if possible, from the politics of the world that we're in. However, politics is a reality. So different pastors played it very differently. And so for us, as a leadership, as an eldership, before it came into play, I remember we talk as a board of elders, and we said, look, these things are coming up, and we've got to be prepared that the government may push this. They may push a vaccine. They ended up doing that. They may push a mandate. They ended up doing that. And so we need to prayerfully consider how we're going to respond if and when that happens. So instead of reacting, we respond in advance.
Yeah, right. So you kind of knew that it was coming into play and that sort of stuff, so you're kind of prepared for it?
I didn't know. Initially, I was probably the loudest voice on that because I'm a bit of a contrarian, a bit suspicious by nature, and how I've been brought up is be wary of what's being shown to you on the TV screens and around about you. So
there's a reason why it's called programming. Right?
Oh my goodness, there's so much propaganda, as we know. Whatever perspective you take. So yeah, we were prepared for it in a sense, and we were prepared to work from home if we needed to. We were prepared. I was prepared to take a pay cut. I was prepared to lose my job. That was my personal conviction. And as we spoke, we said, look, if you want to go take a jab, take a jab. If you don't want to take a jab, don't take a jab. But don't force your opinions on other people. Let people live their lives. Sure. Have autonomy and agency as we believe that God's given us.
Yeah, I mean, that's not such a hard thing. Is if you want to do it and, have 16 jabs and walk around with, a face mask on and a helmet and an umbrella, go for it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It's free choice, right?
Yeah, 100%. Just don't force it on me,
Yeah.
So that's, and the reason that I got you on is, like I said, I've been going to your church on Sundays, and everything you say is fully red-pilled, which is, I was not expecting a pastor, a preacher to stand up and just be so aware of the political environment, where things are going, and the last one that you did, that's when I just went, geez, I'm going to have this guy on the radio show, because it was like, because you went into the WEF and, their plans and,
okay. Yeah. That was a bit naughty, wasn't it?
If you can't use your position to actually share something that's positive and useful for others, it's a waste of that position in the first place. So well done.
Yeah, well, as I said before, different people have different convictions about this and play it very differently. And I try to keep the main thing, which is I preach Christ and I preach Christ crucified. He's here for the world. However, we shouldn't put our heads in the sand when it comes to the world that we're living in, and we have a responsibility to stand for righteousness and justice and truth. Yeah. So some people have lost a lot of friends in whatever decision they've made about the stand, pastors included.
Family members.
It's been terrible. And so we've seen even people in the church have very strong opinions one way or another. Okay. So that's been one of the challenging things to navigate. In any family, any community, you're going to have difference of opinions, and you just got to you've got to be accepting of that. Of course.
Yeah. There's been a lot of division. Like family members, friends, work associates, the whole 9 yards. When you, last Sunday, the fully red-pilled that you did it was awesome. And you were referring to, the divide of good and evil, and you're perceiving it as evil, like these things that are being put into place. Yeah. Elaborate on that a bit more.
Well, okay, so you're touching on my theology here when it comes to, as Christians believe there's God, and clearly seen in Christ, we also believe that there's an enemy, that clearly seen in Satan, and we believe that there is a clear force in the world that is trying to destroy humanity. It's always been there, but I think that my personal take is we're living in what you'd call an apocalyptic era at the moment. Apocalypse meaning just uncovering. Things are just coming to the surface. Okay. I think there's always been atrocities in the world throughout the ages. There's been horrendous things that's taken place. Yeah. People now are just starting to wake up because it's coming to the surface, so to speak. So I believe that there is an evil power. Powers at the world that are working through people, working through governments, working through systems, working through even ideologies, even through religious systems to divide us and destroy us. And so we've got to be aware of that.
On that front, actually, I'll butt in on that. Something I was very, very disappointed with during this entire process was the weakness of the church, and particularly the major churches. Okay, they seem to be, for want of a better term, in on it. It was quite ridiculous, and I spoke to a lot of people who are religious, who aren't as well, for that matter, who felt very, very let down by the church. Look, like everything, you've got to find a positive in these things. And one thing I do find a positive in is the fact that many people who felt disenchanted with religion before have actually gone to religion now. But they're staying away from the majors, I see.
Yeah, look, I echo your sentiment, my friend. I was disappointed with some of my colleagues and friends. It's almost as though some of my friends and colleagues were speaking for the government rather than to the government.
Absolutely.
And we're not here to speak for the government. That's not what we're here to stand up.
It should be the separation of church and state, full stop.
Yeah, and now in the defence of some of my colleagues and friends, they're just not into politics. So we live in a culture in Australia that is largely compliant, submissive to our authorities, and we're very trusting. We've had a good run for a long time.
Sure.
We don't know how to fight or stand up. Unlike if you go to, say, the Americans, they stand up and fight. The French, you can hear what's happening over there at the moment. They stand up and fight. Australians are have the underlying sentiment, I should be right, we'll be okay.
Well, that's been my great argument, quite frankly. The greatest thing about this country is its apathy. It's also the worst thing about this country, that she'll be right attitude. We all love that, but by what, over the last 3 years, have we paid that price?
I can't remember the name of the book, but he talks...
1984?
That's right, George Orwell. And he was talking about the founding of Australia and how it developed and that sort of stuff, and why we were so compliant. Well, a certain section of the population was so compliant is because we were prisoners.
Yes. But
we're also jailers.
Yep.
So that's basically, and to me, that sums up the response, because very disappointing in a lot of people that did not stand up, and I understand some people that sort of had to comply because of jobs and mortgages and family and all that sort of stuff. Fortunately, I wasn't in that position. I had a bit more freedom. But we'll go to a song in a sec. But when we come back, I want to talk about, you're saying that people are waking up, and there is a certain, but there's also a lot of people that are still asleep.
Yes.
So we'll cover that in the sec.
It's 22 after the hour. How you doing? It's Malloy with you doing the Edge Radio thing. But more exactly, we are doing the Crypto Hour of Power. And I just turned to my left just to see Brandon doing a bit of headbanging. Pretty impressive stuff, mate.
I'm getting the energy level back up. Red Bull's kicking in.
Really great to have Josh in here as well. Now, you are from the GraceLife Church, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And we've been talking about, we're here to talk about crypto. But
Brandon, come on, mate.
No. I think this is absolutely brilliant. I'll tell you why. Because, ultimately, crypto to me is about freedom. Okay, it is about getting out of the system that enslaves you, right? So, and obviously there's this correlation with with God and freedom and that kind of thing. And I think that what I've certainly noticed over the last couple of years is the amount of people who have been rediscovering religion or faith, more to the point, faith.
Yeah.
Because they're chasing their freedom again, and they've realised they haven't got it. So, it might seem a funny little bedfellows, but quite frankly, I think it's very pertinent.
Well, that's right. I mean, like people that are looking at alternatives, and this is what I wanted to sort of get into. It's like a parallel society almost, and creating a parallel society, or it's already been created. Yeah. Because, like we were discussing before we went to the songs, awesome music, by the way.
Oh, well chosen, my friend.
That's right. I leave it up to me. So you've got people that have woken up, basically, but then you've got people that are still asleep, and there's a large proportion of the population. I think honestly, if you haven't woken up in the last 2 or 3 years, I think you're in a coma. You know, like there's no other way of explaining it. Is there a way that you know, like we were talking about parallel societies and that sort of stuff, and we'll get to the financial thing in a minute. But it is almost like a parallel society. You know, you've got the people that are awake, and you've got the people that are still asleep. You know, what would you sort of suggest or say to people that are still sort of waking up or still asleep, basically? Or do you just say anything to them? You know?
It's really hard. I mean, self-preservation is one of those underlying tones within us. You know, once we've made a decision on something, we don't want to kind of backtrack.
Sure.
Or if we've taken something that might be harmful to us, we don't want to accept that. So there are some people that are really struggling with coming to that reality. There are some people that don't care. They just don't care. Well, if I've taken it, or whatever. There are people that just don't want to know. Yeah. Mass formation psychosis is something we've talked about before, which is really quite interesting, where you've got different groups of people that don't understand. How could you possibly think that? How could you possibly believe that on both sides of the fence? And then you've got this middle ground of people that just are just going with the flow like sheep.
Sure.
So for us, this is how we're dealing with things. I know of people personally that have been vaccine injured and have detrimental effects with the lockdowns and so forth. And so we have to, as a community, as a people, I think, demonstrate compassion no matter what, and to come alongside people, to not preach at people, to not hurt people, harm people in the process, come alongside them and slowly help them see, as they are willing, what's actually really going on. I've still got people that do not want to accept links, videos. I'm sure you have those friends too.
Yep.
You want to talk to them. They can't, where are you getting this stuff from? How is that true? That can't be true. What? How come I've never seen that on Channel 7 or Channel 9? You turn Koshy off, turn the project off, and there's a different perspective out there.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, actually, my bit of advice is turn that bloody ugly black box off. Because honestly, it's an indoctrination machine.
Yeah, it's propaganda.
You know? Absolutely. And I think that that is, honestly, the first thing you can do to break free is turn that thing off. And I always say to people, go shopping for your media, all right? Yeah. Go look on the left, look on the right, look on both sides, all right? You can't just be into your little fishbowl and listen to one type of advice. It's good to look at both sides or all sides and go, hang on, I've got this grey matter, I'm going to use it. I'll come up with my own conclusions here. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's almost like the incurious. You know, like people, like if someone says something really bizarre to me, like some fact or, whatever, I go, pardon? Explain that. Yes. You know, like I want to dive deeper into it, you know, as opposed to just accepting stuff that's been said or done, you know. And that sort of leads into, well, we're talking about parallel societies and people not accepting information or they just turn a blind eye, right? And it's something that I'm working on, and maybe you can help me out a bit too on this one, mate, is I've used, well, not so much, I've probably watered it down by about 50%, but I used to walk around with a lot of anger and a lot of rage towards these people, you know, that because they were compliant, right? Yeah. They're the ones that wore the mask, that, you know, and when I even see people with masks now and carry on, and a lot of anger is like, I blame them for being compliant, for locking my family and my loved ones in a home and destroying businesses and lives and relationships, you know, because they were compliant. So, you know, I know you're supposed to forgive and all that sort of stuff. And
doing a great job there, Brandon.
Sometimes I find it very, very hard, you know, like, because, I mean, people cut me off in traffic, mate, and I'm ready to kill someone.
Right.
Yeah, those harpoons on the front of your car are a dead giveaway. But right.
Too many Red Bulls, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, what would you say to, well, because the realisation was, I went and visited my parents. I think I've said this before on the radio or whatever. I went and visited my parents, and I happened to be walking past them as they were watching Channel 7 or Channel 9, some news report. And I went, bloody, this vaccine nonsense, you know, sort of underneath my breath. And my mum just looked at me, and she just went, Brandon, we all have to be part of society, you know, you have to do this and have to do that, and da-da-da-da. And I was looking at her, and she just had a crazy look in her eye. And I said, Mum, look, just calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was my realisation, is that my loved ones participated in this as well.
Sure.
It wasn't strangers, It's like people that are and a lot of people that surprised me on both fronts was some of the people that did comply, which I didn't think they would, and then you got ones that didn't comply that I thought that they would as well. You know what I mean? It's really out of the box. So, you being in touch with God, and so
Oh, he's got the direct line. I mean, come on.
You could have it too, both of you.
What would be your advice for someone like me, and I'm sure I'm not alone, to sort of, because I know like anger, it only hurts yourself or whatever, but give us some wise words and some philosophy there, Josh.
Oh, look, mate. I'm no saint on this one. Don't worry, I have my issues. I think we all do. I'm just one beggar trying to help another beggar find bread at the end of the day, right?
Yep.
So there is one thing that really helps me is I know that I myself am not perfect. I'm not perfect. No one is. There's only been one perfect one, and I'm talking about there. Yeah. And he loved me regardless. I've been an absolute pain over the years. I've been rebellious. I've been unfaithful. I have been proud. You name it. And because I've been accepted, I have to demonstrate that to other people.
Yep.
So when I know that I have family members, I have good friends that think very differently to me, just as passionately but differently.
Yeah.
I have to demonstrate some element of acceptance. And I think what's really difficult, Brandon, is we live in a world that is constantly preaching about tolerance and inclusivity, but we're anything but that.
That's
right?
right.
We are intolerant and we're highly exclusive. And anyone that differs, we're labelled a bigot, or we're thrown out to the side. And I don't want to play that game. I'm not going to participate with that culture. So I want to be a little bit more open, accepting, and inclusive of other people where possible, even if that means we disagree. And we agree to disagree. That's a healthy part of society.
And it's okay to do do that. Absolutely.
100%. So when someone cuts you off, maybe maybe drive a bit slower or leave a bit earlier so you're not so rushed. I don't know. But it's a challenge I think we all are faced with from time to time,
Yeah. Well, that makes sense, because you're basically looking at yourself and going, okay, I don't like that person, and obviously they've got issues. But then you're going, well, I've got a few issues myself. So
mate, we all do.
Look, I can't stand people who preach down to others and act like they've got absolutely no sins themselves. Let's face it, we are all just a hot mess, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, we've all got our things, and the person you cut off in traffic, hey, they may have had a bad day, they may have had a fight with their loved ones or whatever.
Don't care, they should die.
Don't care. I mean, you push them off a cliff, no biggie. It's all right. But no, I when we talked about politics off air a little bit, and we're certainly talking about it on air as well. But the reality is, when politicians and people in positions of power talk, and they come from a place of they act like they're so pure.
Yes.
I don't want to vote for someone pure.
No.
I want someone who's got warts and all. Okay.
Yes.
Because ultimately they have life experience.
Yes.
And if you've gone through and you've lived in a bubble and you've been protected all the way, then trust me, you are not the person to be giving advice.
Well, exactly. We've all made mistakes, and that makes us wiser. That's why I'm extremely wise. I've made a few mistakes in my time. Because that's where we'll sort of go into, is the parallel society. We in the crypto world, we literally are a parallel society. We are, starting our own banks, financial instruments, you name it, in traditional finance. Now, and that's what I found unusual about you, Josh, okay, was not only are you like a normal guy, because I sort of had a perception that, a lot of preachers and guys that, do that sort of stuff are very happy-clappy, you know what I mean? And it's all about whatever. But you're like genuine.
You made it sound a little like Flanders then from The Simpsons.
That's right. Well, that's a good analogy, actually, because that's how I sort of viewed them. And it was just, very unusual to meet someone like you, and you're just completely normal. Don't want to offend anyone.
You probably should meet some more preachers then, I reckon. Change your perception.
Well, that is a point. I haven't really met a lot, so I don't really have a good database.
They could be avoiding you, though.
Well, he keeps cutting them off in traffic.
That's it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But yeah, it's a parallel thinking that I sort of want to get into. Is well, how did you get into crypto? Because it's the last thing you would think a preacher would do. You know.
So the reason why I originally got interested in crypto was different to why I think I'm invested now. I got into crypto, started looking into it over 5 years ago, just as a means of investment. I'm thinking, gee, I'm a pastor, I don't have too much money. I've got a little bit saved up. I've got to think about my future and where can I invest? And so for a number of years, I kept hearing Bitcoin popping up, Bitcoin, and I started looking into that a little bit. And then I started looking, okay, Bitcoin may make money, but there's all these other cryptocurrencies there. How do they work? Now, my background is actually engineering, believe it or not.
Of course.
Electrical, electronic, and computer engineering. So I understand a little bit about that background. I've had friends in it before, in the IT game and with crypto. And I thought, well, whilst I do love the tech, I love the ability to kind of, to some extent, uncouple from traditional sector, but also really to make money. I think, to be honest with you, most, if not all of us are in there to make our dollar go further.
Of course.
When Lambo.
Yeah, right. But as time progressed, going through a couple of bull runs and, you get smashed up to the side, up, down, left, right, you understand the game a little bit more. You become a little bit wiser, as you were talking before, Brendan, and learning from your experience. Experiences alone, I would say, don't make you wise, but learning from those experiences.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, mate, how many old fools do you know? They're old, but they're still fools, right? But if we learn from our experience, and so crypto, I think, just looking at it, and then I started paying attention to commentary. Now, since the last couple of years with COVID and seeing what's happening with the finance sector, with the bank runs, with the digital crypto,
inflation.
Oh my goodness, the central banks, the reserve banks around the world, all of a sudden, the last couple of years have been working on this, have they? What do you know? All of a sudden, we're talking the same language. It raised a bit of suspicion. And so you're getting onto this parallel society. I think at the moment, certainly you can see it's complementing rather than replacing the current sector, but perhaps that could be the case where the cryptocurrency, where crypto assets could eventually replace, not just complement, be it cash that they're trying to get rid of and eradicate, whether it be the digital currency, the central bank digital currency that they're looking to roll out some point this year or so. I think that there is a future for us, and I'd prefer to make decisions now with the end in mind. So I don't want to make those decisions too late.
Yeah, no, very good, wise words, mate. When you, I don't know how to put it politely or correctly, rather. The last sermon that you did, you were comparing these people and saying that they were evil, and there was basically a force that we're against.
Okay.
When you went into, you were talking about the WEF and
yeah. So like just to clarify, what I was pointing to was that people are people at the end of the day, but there certainly is an evil system. There is an evil force that is trying to degrade, to dissuade, to distract, to depress humanity, across the board, and confuse us. It's like we don't know up from down anymore. We don't know left from right. We can't decide on our
gender.
We don't know. Okay, we don't know our genders. How many are there now? Boy, girl, mixture of both. I'm having to explain this to my 7-year-old.
Oh, look, I can explain it very clearly. There are 3 genders: male, female, and mental illness. That's it. Done. Job done. Walk away.
So this is what I think happens when we put ourselves and our own feelings at the centre of our ideology. And so if there is no objective standard, then what's right for you is right for you, and what's right for you is right for you, and what's right for me is right for me, and you can't argue with that.
Yeah.
But that's a load of rubbish. Truth is truth. It has no feelings. Facts don't argue with that, with those feelings. So it's either right or it's not. And whether it be boy or girl, whether it be what's happening in the US with Trump, they're indicting him now on ridiculous charges just because he's saying, no, I'm not going to play your game, and they don't like that. Yeah. Whether it's the World Economic Forum, you'll be you'll own nothing by 2030, and you'll be happy. Yeah, of course you will.
Eat the bugs.
Whether it's the central banks, I can see why they're doing it, and from there, this is what I can appreciate. From the perspective of the people at the top, they're doing what they feel is likely best for humanity abroad. I just happen to have a different set of views on that. They may think that the greater good means we have to make some significant changes to food sources, populations, how we govern people. I just think that's
Well,
a
look back
very wrong way to.
Look back through
to work.
history and tell me a single time where, the top down have done things for the greater good, and they think they're doing it. Like Stalin, for example.
But that's the point. They thought
Pol
that
Pot.
they thought that they were doing
That's
what was
right.
right, but they were just wrong, weren't they? And history showed that.
I don't know if they actually thought they were doing what was right, to be honest with you. I think that a lot of it comes down to greed. I really do. I think that any of these socialist sort of economies, it is all top down, and it is all very much about protecting the top. And you can pretend like, I think that anyone who loves people has a little bit of socialist in them, all right? Because you do want to look after everybody. I'm like that myself. I want people to make sure they've got, food, housing, all that sort of thing. It's a right as a human being. But unfortunately, when we're talking about the political side of things, I tend to think that, quite frankly, ambition and control and power, the lust for those things tend to take over. And when we're talking about, whether it be the USSR, whether it be Stalin, whether it be Biden, wherever you want to look, I sadly think those traits are the overrunning ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'd agree with that. I can't remember what the saying is. It's something like, if you're not a socialist, if you're under 25 and you're not a socialist, you don't have a heart. If you're over 25,
And
you don't have a brain.
Don't have a brain, yeah, I can see that.
That's the one.
I'd probably go 35. I think you're probably being a bit rough there. Never mind. Hey, time for a break, guys. We'll be back really soon. It is, of course, Edge Radio Australia, the Crypto Hour of Power. Oh, we love that one around here. Soul Revival with Edge Radio Australia, Crypto Hour of Power. And, geez, Josh, mate, you're a busy man. You're almost flying out the door here. We've got you for a few more minutes, which is great. Really appreciate that. Brandon, fire the questions at him. Let's use up every one of those brain cells while we've got him in the building.
What's left of them since last night? No, it's crazy. Is every time we go to a break, we sit here and we have these full-on conversations. And I'm like, we should record this stuff,
should,
Yeah, sort of
funny
bring it
enough,
up.
what we do actually, you probably tell Josh at the same time, when we do, there's a show that actually we do, which is called The Greater Wealth, that we actually put out, and we do a video of that as well.
Yep.
And we actually have a mic sitting there, so those who are watching us online, whatever it happens to be, whatever, your platform they're using, they can listen to the conversations and be involved in the
Is
conversations.
that right? That's a great idea.
So they can ask questions. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so...
Yeah, and it's live too, so they ask questions and all that sort of stuff.
Spot on, yeah. So, look, we'll be doing more and more of that and get more interaction as things go. So, yeah, only way is up.
Yeah, and it's like funny that we were talking before and how you started this radio station and all this sort of stuff, big ups to you. They kicked you in the balls and basically you just stood up and said, okay, you don't want me, I'll do my own thing.
Yeah, spot on. And, mate, I'm not looking for any praise. The reality is that, okay, if you see an opportunity, okay, a lot of people see things and they take a hit and they go, we get down. You've got to see this as an opportunity and to actually sort of segue and give you a bit of, talking about the crypto market, right now the market is lower, right? Okay, right now we're looking at bears. So now is the time to get in. That's the way I see it. I see that, I think far too often people go, oh, things are down, we need to think down. Whereas you need to look at it, in my opinion, and go, this is an opportunity. Let's
opportunity,
jump on it.
that's right.
Yeah, big time.
So you know what? Hey, it might not have the job security I had before or the finances, but the reality is, boy, am I a lot freer.
But you know what? In fairness, some of the best things do emerge from difficult situations.
Sure,
some of the
absolutely.
most creative ideas, like, for example, Edge, it's similar to crypto. I mean, some of the crypto, Bitcoin, came out of the 2008-2009 crisis.
Spot on.
Out of the bear market's usually when the best crypto tends to be birthed from. So it's a similar concept across the board, and that's why I think now's a great time.
Yep, yeah,
Totally
100%. And, bear markets are a good cleansing as well because the projects that don't have utility, that aren't working, that are all just sort of white papers and, whatever, they all just disappear, so it's just once again, it's a cleansing mechanism.
Sure.
I love the bear market. I actually get excited during it, It's hard when you got, especially newer clients, they're like, oh, it's all going to go, it's going to, and I'm just like, relax, man, this is not my first rodeo.
But this is also the same thing you'll see in the traditional fiat currency in the normal market because, okay, honestly, again, it's time to buy when things are down, and if you're going to stick with it long term, if you look at the numbers for the traditional stock exchange, long term, it's just been up and up and up. Okay, it's got some valleys there, but again, it's about time in the market.
Yep. It's time in the market, not timing the market.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's right.
Righty. Okay. Well, we've got a few more minutes with old Josh over here because he has to go do his things. His pastor things.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. Yeah, so it's like, what would you like? Because when you said that you did computer engineering and that sort of stuff, and so it kind of made sense to you and all that sort of thing. What do you think the future is for crypto in your mind?
Look, full disclaimer again. I don't know everything about computers. I don't. My background's engineering, which demonstrates I like to ask the questions why and how does something work.
Yep.
Okay,
Best questions ever.
That's the way my brain works. So with the world at the moment, I can see that it's going belly up. Blind Freddy can see what's happening to the financial sector. They can see there's a push for tyrannical control, be it locally on a state level, be it on a national level or even a global level. I just see opportunity there, and I do see that crypto assets provides a direct and imminent threat to the ones that are trying to control.
Sure.
Right. So you're either going to jump on board or you're not.
Yeah.
And so for the nations that are trying to shut it down, they're going to lose out on a lot of economic and innovative technology.
Yep.
They're going to lose out. Whereas you have other nations
That are embracing it.
that are embracing it and they're flourishing.
Yep.
So you have to realize that we're in a different era at the moment. Just like when the internet came out some 20 odd years ago, it revolutionized everything.
Yep.
You know, now we're seeing cryptocurrency. It's been around actually for quite a while, but it's only come into prominence now.
Yep.
I think it's a significant opportunity. And the bear market in particular was actually you. It was your fault.
No.
You made me buy some more at a cheap price, and now I've made some money on it because it was probably only a couple. One of the assets I'm most into is Hex.
Yeah.
And I know that you are too. That's, as you mentioned, that's what got us together. And I said, mate, you reckon it was at about 2 cents back then? You know, and it's only a couple of months ago. I said, mate, you reckon you should still buy some more now? And I had nothing. I had very little in my bank. And he goes, oh, absolutely. And I thought, oh, geez, what am I going to do? Because I have another friend who's brilliant at business. Yeah. And what he says is you make your money not when you sell the product, but when you buy it, when you first get it. That's where you make your money. Yep. And he's a very successul business guy. You've met him, actually. He's in the church. Very successful. He told me that a long time ago. So I thought, geez, same principle applies here. If I'm going to make my money on the other end, I've really got to do it now. So I did what I can to shuffle some things around. I bought some more Hex at about 2.5 cents, and it's basically done a 4x, I think, since then. So yeah,
nice.
All your fault, Brandon. It was an opportunity, as we said before.
How dare you
itself.
make me money?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, it's unrealised at the moment. I've got to sit on it. I'm in it for the long term, to be fair.
No, I think Hex has got a great future, especially with Pulse coming out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, there's a lot happening there. Alrighty. So, what do? I mean, is it hard to make the jump? Because it makes sense in hindsight after meeting you. I keep on banging this table. In hindsight, with Christianity and crypto,
sure,
and that loop or that connection,
sure,
because tie that knot for me.
Okay, so that's a really interesting. We've only got about 5 minutes left, all right? We're landing this at about 2. So, Christians believe in the Bible. In the Bible, there are certain things that are mentioned about what will happen at the end of the age as Christ comes back. That's what we adhere to. It's what we believe. And one of those things are a cashless society. We believe that you cannot buy or sell without certain things. And so with the idea of cryptocurrency, some people think that it's a direct threat to our freedoms because it leads to control. But I think that is an ill-informed idea.
Yeah, I see the opposite, to be honest.
Exactly, Aaron. Yeah. Exactly. I think central bank digital currency, that provides control. And even though the US and Australia, I saw an article from I think it was the RBA just yesterday saying that central bank digital currency is going to complement cash. I don't know if I believe that. I don't think that's the full story. They might say that now to get their foot in the door.
Yep.
But I think the long-term goal is what potentially, and this is certainly the threat, what's happened in China.
Yeah. Yep.
Cryptocurrency provides another alternative that decentralizes that power and control. Yep. And I have, and I think many of us now have seen what governments around the world are capable of when they have too much power, and that's a concern to me. That's enough of a red flag to me to go, hang on a second, I smell something that's a bit off here.
Big eye-opener for
A
so much
lot
of
of
the
people.
population.
I think it's only going to enhance
Yeah.
the loss of central control.
Yep.
Yep. People are
Thoroughly.
waking up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the most important question ever, mate, is do you think Jesus would buy some Bitcoin?
You know, years ago, I joined a Discord, and I had to come up with a name. And my handle was Jesus Loves Bitcoin. So people could find me on Discord. Maybe he is the Satoshi Nakamoto.
Maybe.
No, he's not.
That is absolutely fantastic. Look, I've really enjoyed today. We've gone way off topic, but I love that because, look, ultimately, again, this is something we discussed earlier. Okay, conversations, people are allowed to agree or disagree or see things from a different point of view. But you will not gain knowledge if you only talk to people who feel the same way as you.
That's right.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I agree with both of you. So I've learnt nothing today. No, but it's been brilliant having you both in. And Josh, you're absolutely welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you. I appreciate you
100%.
both.
Give yourself a little plug with your church and times or anything, events that are happening, or
Oh, well, I'm not really much of a self-promoter, but our church is a great church. We meet in Malaga, GraceLife Church, and in Ellenbrook, 10 o'clock every Sunday morning. You can find us on Facebook. Our sermons are online there, GraceLife Perth. I think YouTube, we have it as well. Instagram, I don't know them off the top of my head. Someone else takes care of all of that. I just preach the gospel and love people. That's all I care about.
yeah, sweet. Stay in your lane, mate.
That's it.
Great stuff, guys. All right, we're out of here, just like Paradise, quite frankly. Could
Wonderful.
be. It's Edge Radio Australia, the Crypto Hour of Power. We'll see you next week. A replay also this Sunday.